Chapter 10. The Unsinkable Ship. On the 10th of April 1912, the largest luxury ship in the world set sail from Southampton in England to New York. She was called the Titanic. The word Titanic means huge. This was her maiden voyage, that is, her first voyage. She set out to cross the Atlantic Ocean, and she carried more than 2,000 passengers. The Titanic was like a floating town. Everyone called the Titanic the finest ship in the world. Everyone was proud of her. She was as tall as a building with 15 stories. Inside, she was like a large hotel with grand staircases, dining rooms, shops and swimming pools. Everyone thought that the Titanic could never sink. They called her the Unsinkable Ship. The ship's builders were so sure of this that they put only a few lifeboats on the ship. The journey was very comfortable. The passengers were proud because they were traveling in the best ship in the world. They felt safe. Then came the night of the 14th of April. The sky was clear and the sea was calm. Many of the passengers were asleep. Captain Smith knew that there were icebergs nearby, so he told a man to keep watch from the top of the ship. Suddenly, 11:40 p.m., the man saw something. He grew cold with fear. A huge iceberg stood right in the path of the Titanic. "Iceberg!" he yelled. Captain Smith fought hard to steer the Titanic away from the iceberg, but the ship changed direction slowly and her side scraped the mountain of ice. A shower of ice fell onto the decks and the iceberg cut holes along the ship's side. Water began to pour into the lower decks. Most passengers heard nothing, and slept on. Captain Smith and his crew could not stop the water flooding through the ship. They knew that the Titanic was in great danger. The unsinkable ship was sinking. At 12:15 a.m. Captain Smith sent urgent messages on the ship's radio asking for help. "Help! Titanic sinking! Come quickly!" Then he ordered the crew to wake up all the passengers. A ship called the California was only 20 miles away, but she did not receive the Titanic's messages. Her radio was turned off, and the radio operator was asleep. Another ship called the Carpathia heard the Titanic's calls and sailed at full speed towards her. Unfortunately, the Carpathia was far away and she took over 3 hours to reach the Titanic. Meanwhile, the Titanic was sinking rapidly. The crew lowered the lifeboats into the sea, but there was only enough space in the boats for a few hundred passengers. The Titanic had more than 2,000 people on board. The ship began to tilt into the sea. People began to jump from the decks into the ice-cold water. With its lights still shining, the Titanic stood upright for few minutes. Then, 2:20 a.m. on the 15th of April, she vanished into the sea. About 1,500 people drowned. Captain Smith and most of his crew went down with the ship. The Carpathia arrived at 3:40 a.m. The ship's crew found the lifeboats and saved 700 people in them. They also found chairs and pieces of wood floating on the water. But almost all of the people in the water had drowned or died of cold. The Carpathia was too late to save them. The sinking of the Titanic made people think harder about the safety of passengers on ships. They asked why ships carry so few lifeboats and why they turn off their radios. In 1913, It was decided that all ships must have enough room in their lifeboats to carry everyone on board. It was also decided that ships must keep their radios working every hour of the day and night. In 1985, scientists sent a submarine to look for the wreck, found the ship lying in two pieces of the Titanic. They on the ocean floor, at a depth of around 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet. Later, they took photographs of the wreck and brought small parts of it to the surface of the water. There are many stories of bravery on that terrible night in April 1912. In 1998, the director, James Cameron, made a famous film of the Titanic's maiden voyage. It is a very sad film. Almost everyone who sees the film leaves the cinema in tears. Understanding the text. A. Answer these questions. 1. Why did the California not come to help the passengers on the Titanic? Answer. The radio was turned off and the radio operator was asleep. 2. Captain Smith and his crew tried to save the passengers. Describe 3 things they did. Answer. They sent messages asking for help on the radio, they woke up all the passengers, and they lowered lifeboats with people on them into the sea. 3. Why did all the passengers not get into the lifeboats? Answer. There were not enough lifeboats to hold all the passengers. B. Each of these sentences has a mistake in it. Correct the mistake and write the sentences in your notebook as shown. 1. The Titanic left Southampton on the 11th of April 1912. Answer. The Titanic left Southampton on the 10th of April 1912. 2. The Titanic sank at 2.20 a.m. on the 14th of April 1912. Answer. The Titanic 2:20 a.m. on the 15th of April 1912. 3. The Titanic sank on its 10th voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. Answer. The Titanic sank on its first voyage across the Atlantic Ocean. 4. About 1,500 passengers climbed into the Titanic lifeboats. Answer. About 700 passengers climbed into the Titanic lifeboats. 5. Another ship, called the Carpathia, arrived about 1 hour and 30 minutes after the Titanic had sunk. Answer. Another ship, called the Carpathia, arrived about 1 hour and 20 minutes after the Titanic had sunk. 6. Scientists sent a submarine to look at the wreck of the Titanic in 1913. Answer. Scientists sent a submarine to look at the wreck of the Titanic in 1985. Structures. Transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Read these sentences. Everyone was proud of the Titanic. The Carpathia arrived at 3.40 a.m. Some verbs need an object to complete their meaning. They are called transitive verbs. Verbs which do not need an object are called intransitive verbs. A direct-to-object is a word or phrase in a sentence referring to the person or thing to whom something has happened. It can be a noun or a pronoun. We can find the direct object by asking the question what or whom after the verb. In the first sentence, the verb was has a direct object. The Titanic was is a transitive verb. In the second sentence, the verb arrived stands alone. It does not have an object as the verb is complete in its meaning. Here, arrived is an intransitive verb. Some verbs can be used as both transitive and intransitive, with a slight change in meaning. Father stopped the car. Transitive father did something. The car stopped. Intransitive something happened to the car. A. Identify the verbs in these sentences and mark them as transitive, T, or intransitive, IT. 1. Did you enjoy the birthday party? Answer: enjoy, transitive. 2. She sneezed loudly. Answer: sneezed, intransitive. 3. The clouds just disappeared. Answer: disappeared, intransitive. 4. The doctor treated the patient's wound. Answer: treated, transitive. 5. She took my cupboard keys. Answer: took, transitive. 6. They all waited. Answer: waited, intransitive. B. Underline the verbs in these sentences and mark them as transitive T or intransitive IT. If the verb is transitive, circle the direct object in the sentence. 1. The teacher distributed the notebooks. Answer: distributed, transitive. Direct object, the notebooks. 2. I slept deeply. Answer: intransitive. 3. They enjoy music. Answer: enjoy, transitive. Direct object, music. 4. The mechanic repaired the car window. Answer: repaired, transitive. Direct object, car window. 5. She is busy. Answer: intransitive. 6. Speak softly. Answer: intransitive. Words in use. Compound adjectives. Look at this expression. The ice-cold water. The compound word ice-cold describes the water in the sea. This is called a compound adjective. Here are a few more examples of compound adjectives. Man-eating tiger. Time-saving method. Violet-colored eyes. Well-known singer. A. Match the compound words in column A with suitable nouns in column B. Then write them as shown in the example. 1. Hard-working girl. 2. Well-furnished apartment. 3. Low-lying areas. 4. Sweet-smelling flowers. 5. Handmade paper. Compound expressions. Rewrite each sentence using the correct compound expression from exercise A. 1. He painted a beautiful picture. He used some special paper that was not made by machines. Answer: he painted a beautiful picture on handmade paper. 2. The garden was full of flowers and there was a fragrance in the air. Answer: the garden was full of sweet-smelling flowers. 3. Depti studies very late into the night every day. She works really hard. Answer: Depti studies very late into the night every day. She is a hard-working girl. 4. The river was in flood. All the areas except those that were high were flooded. Answer: the river was in flood. All the low-lying areas were flooded. 5. My cousin is looking for a place to stay in the city. He wants a flat that has enough furniture. Answer: my cousin is looking for a place to stay in the city. He wants a